I was a kindergarten teacher, and one day, in a group of researchers and from Harvard Graduate School of Education came to my classroom. They told me that they are going to provide what is so-called alternative assessment. So I'm going to show you a few slides of these alternative assessment activities. Okay. First activity is called a storyboard. And here on the left side, you see a piece of a board. There's many different props and the materials. And the activity started with as this. And the teacher would say here, and once upon a time, and there is a little spider who came from the cave. And suddenly, and he saw a big dinosaurs. And none of these materials there. And then the materials are all on the side of the storyboard. And the children and the teacher just ended the story there and let the child to start talking about her or his story. And the child can use any of these materials and to generate the stories. And in my classroom, and there was a kid who was kind of seemed so smart, but when I asked him to talk about the stories, he always say, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. That really make me wonder whether because this story is both structured in the sense that it would provide materials to support the children's thinking. On the other hand, this storyboard is also very open-ended. There is no right or wrong way. It is completely up to you to use any of these materials to generate your story. So that make me think about, well, what is the strength of this particular child? And what is the area that this child really needs to improve? Another story I want to talk to you is about this particular girl, and her name is Jie-Qi. And she came to my classroom and in October. And you know, in the United States, we started in the fall semester in September. And this child came to my classroom and really did not say anything to anyone for a couple of months. So I started to worry whether she had some kind of a language speech problems and their hearing issues. And I talked to mother. Mother said, no, she was fine. She was at home. So one day, and I brought this storyboard to her attention and invited her to talk to me. And that day we have material is like a farm. And she started talking about the farm animals and the farm stories. Then I learned that, and she was with her grandma in the south of the United States, in North Carolina, and the south side of the United States for all her life. Until recently, she moved to Boston, which is a metropolitan big city with parents. So Boston experience in the school, like the school I was is a laboratory school, is alien experience for her. She just did not feel comfortable at all. But it was the storyboard that brought her all of her experience from her past. And she gradually opened it up. And so we know it was not her language or hearing issue. It was really contextualized, the experience. Let me talk about another assessment activity. This is math activity we call the Dinosaur Game. And here you see, it's interesting here, there's a big dinosaurs and there's a small dinosaur. The purpose of the game is for small dinosaur to get away from the mouth of the big dinosaur game. Because if you go to the mouth of the big dinosaur, and dinosaur will eat you up. Then here, and there's 4 dice, okay, 2 are plus and minus signs, and 1 has 5 plus sign. and the 1 minus 1. The other one has 5, the 5 minus sign and the 1 plus sign. And so we ask children to throw the die and then see which and it's the plus and the minus sign and die you want. And the purpose of this game is to see children counting one-to-one correspondence and the one at a time, and really also strategic thinking. At what point you want to use more plus size, at what point you want to use more minus size. Okay, teacher play the game with the child, and the goal is for child to win and for teacher to lose. At a point, you also want to say, as a teacher, say, okay, now, and if you pick the plus and the minus dice, and which one do you think you're going to pick for me? Okay, so this is the game where we see how children understand the signs, and that really has meaning there. And next slide is to show a music activity. And this bells are Montessori bells. Montessori bells have a unique feature that is they all look exactly the same, but they produce different pitches. So the activity is to have a little kind of a divider, and the teacher hit one bell, and the child cannot see, or even you see it, you won't be able to tell. And the child has to complete it based on his or her hearing to detect the bell that produced the similar sound. And next one is, and we call it assembly task in the mechanical science. And here you see, and this is meat grinders, and you grind meat into small pieces. And then this one is oil pump, and you put oil, and here you can fix your bicycles and the machines, and with the oil came out. So this is to see to what extent the children can take apart and put it together, and as the part and the whole relationship and the systematic thinking and that kind of abilities. And last but not least, I want to show you one of the social domain activities we call the classroom model. And here is a replica of children's classroom, and we have children's pictures and put on the little wood blocks. And teacher will ask children, and during free playtime, and where do you think Sam and Sarah like to go the most? And the one classroom has a conflict. Let's say the two kids and the fighting, and teacher was not there. Who do you think the kids would likely to ask? Which kid and which child you would most likely to seek for help? Yeah. Okay, let's move on. But I hope the audience can participate in some kind of a discussion, even though it is a little kind of a and restricted. But please and type your word.
You are now muted.
I won't be able to see it, do I? Let me see. Can I see it? Yeah, I won't be able to see. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Do you still see my whole screen?
You are now unmuted.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Let's go for the next one.
You are now muted.
Okay, and the reason I showed you this spectrum assessment activity, it was that, and it really contrasted my another experience. And as I said at the beginning about myself, I came from China. And in 1983, I and just graduated from a college. So in psychology, and I went to visit a coal mine in China. And we were supposed to give the kids there with special needs some kind of intelligence test. That time, China was just opened the door to the Western country. So we just implement and imported and translated these kind of a Western intelligence test. Here, just one example called a Whisker and the Wechsler Intelligence Skills for Children. Lots of these tests and the test children from 2 years old to even 90 years old, okay? And I remember on that test, there is a one picture is this, is I don't, probably you know this, but at time when I was in China, I had no idea what was this. It's a pretzel, it's like a little salty, kind of soft snack, okay? I had no idea. And this is on the test and asking children who had special needs in this coal mine. Of course, no one would get a score, and everybody got 0. And this kind of a test asks you as a standards test. For instance, here is just one example. It says, in what way are ice and steam alike? And if you're saying that both are physical changes in water, or both water in a different forms, and you get 2 points. And if you say, well, and both at certain points, and they were in the water or parts of the water cycle, you get 1 point. And if you say both give off smoke, fog, mist, something like that, you get 0 point. And so it is really so standardized, and there's no other ways to interpret and give children score. And this kind of test also including and things like this, and put the blocks together and match the blocks and like exactly like the picture. And this is also called the logical reasoning test as a part of an intelligence test. And you're supposed to put all these 5 pictures together and in a story, to line up as a story. And there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the back, there's no other ways to interpret. But every time I ask my students to talk about this, there can come out many different ways of the story. Depends how do you think about and the line of the narrative. So the point is this, and the intelligence test measure verbal abilities as well as so-called performance abilities, and put things together and your spatial kind of orientation. And then at the end, you get a score. And this score is 100 IQ is average. And if you're above 100 and higher you are, the superior you are, the smarter you are. Whereas the lower you are, the dumb you are, okay? And so everybody is aligned together on a single quantitative kind of index, okay? And these things is kind of innate ability. You are born with certain kind of abilities. That's why the IQ test can measure children from very, very young to very, very old. And even though our knowledge change, but your innate ability, so-called IQ, does not real change, okay? And they measure mostly is a linguistic and mathematics abilities.